above the very top, the observation deck there. You can see.
How many floors are there? About
103.
103.
I believe is how many floors. And I think that is the tower with the observation deck. You can see, well, that's the one that's got the antenna there that a lot of New York relies on.
I mean, that's restricted.
That reminds me, this could also lead to an interruption in broadcasting in some New York TV stations, so be alert to that possibility. But these are remarkable pictures, frankly.
Mark, that's restricted airspace, right? I mean, there's no plane supposed to be around there, right?
No, and this is why.
Well, that's what I mean, but I mean, what do we start, I mean, you know, I guess that's a conjecture.
Mark,
that...
I should point out the observation deck is on the other building, on the other tower.
The one without the antenna.
Without the antenna, that's right.
Yeah, now you see
no smoke's breaking out on
the damage. The damage appears to be fairly widespread. I mean, you've got smoke, you've got broken windows on the face that we're looking at now. Considerably, that's a considerable distance from the wall that faces north, which appears to be where the major damage is. And now you can see flames. Yeah.
Bottom right.
All right. Now we definitely have a fire situation. Not that we thought it wasn't, but you know, you can't. You don't want to jump to conclusions. I remember when the what was it? TWA
exactly.
Flight 800 went down. The initial reaction was, well, it had to be a bomb,
right,
because the 747 is such a safe plane, and it turned out not to be.
There's no reason.
So you don't want to get ahead of yourself.
But you would figure that
what's going on.
That planes are not supposed to be flying around there.
Mark, on the wires.
What's concerning me is the fact that this appears to be still spreading.
Yeah, on the wires, Mark, we should point out that witnesses are saying it was a twin-engine plane that flew right into the northern tower there of the World Trade Center. A twin-engine plane, at least on the wires, according to witnesses.
Now this is an ironic shot to be taking right now. Go back to that shot of Empire in the foreground, because the Empire State Building itself was hit by an airplane. A B-25 bomber crashed into the 79th floor of the Empire State Building around the time of World War II. I'm sorry, I don't remember exactly when. This has happened before, ironically, to these two buildings. The first one was Empire. Now this morning we have an airplane of some kind. We believe a twin-engine civilian craft of some sort, I would assume.
It does not say at this point, Mark, again, relying on wire reports here, relying on witnesses. They simply say...
We have people going to the scene, by the way, to try and...
Yeah, huge explosion, and, well, you can see the damage that's been inflicted. And we can only hope, again, given the fact that it was fairly early, that many people were not yet in their offices, and that most of that area, the Trade Center, was vacant. We can hope.
Of course, the worst thing could well be, and this is totally conjecture, that, you know, on a clear day, you know, someone doesn't miss seeing that. Obviously, that this could be a suicide mission.
Ah, boy, yeah, that hadn't occurred to me.
Well, that's what I meant. Why would... No, I don't. You know, you just don't want to conjecture.
That's true. Well, the bomber that flew into the Empire State Building did so at night and in bad weather. This obviously is a different situation, and you can see now that there is obviously a fire situation that is. I don't know whether it's out of control, but it's certainly severe. And as we watch, at least the external indications are that it's getting worse. I think we can now pretty much make out a very large hole in the north side of, and again, you're looking at the North Tower. But it looks like that area toward the top of the tower, as you're looking at it now, that looks to me like a very large area broken in that could well be where the collision occurred. Again, we have people on the way to the scene, and we're relying primarily on wire reports, which are very cryptic, and on what you can deduce simply by looking at the pictures. But again, if you're just joining us, reports are that a plane, a twin-engine plane, crashed into the World Trade Tower, the North Tower. Fire at the moment appears to be spreading through the, looks to be about the top 20% of the building involved. Not all of it, but part of the top 20% of this building are clearly involved in flame. And Alina Cho has just joined us. Alina, do you have anything to add?
Well, just that we're getting several conflicting reports, Mark, as you continue to look at this picture. I have been listening to our NBC affiliate, WNBC Channel 4. They've had several witnesses on the phone. One witness, a woman, was just talking and said that she was on the ground, obviously, and had noticed, along with several others, the sound of a plane flying very low. They noticed it because they saw it flying very low. It looked like it was heading straight for the World Trade Center. They heard a big boom, obviously, and shattered glass came raining down onto them. There is another report that we're getting in here from another broadcast network saying that it was a commercial jet. It is obviously very difficult to tell from looking at that picture because I suppose it depends on, well, there are two.
It appears to be the main trauma to the building appears to be there on the north wall.
We're looking at it.
And that's
right
a
there.
fairly big hole. But of course, you don't know. You don't know how that kind of damage can be caused. You know, we're not experts on collision damage, but it's a pretty big hole.
We're also getting a report just in from our internal NBC file that says that possibly a commercial jet, again, a big question mark there, a 737. Here's according to an eyewitness, it wasn't dropping steadily lower, appeared not as if plane was in trouble, no nose down. I'm reading directly from this, so it's obviously just some thoughts.
Again, speculation, but another thing that strikes me as I look at these pictures is, if indeed the plane entered the building from the right side of, as you are looking at it now, if it hit the face that is on the right side, right there, where the jagged edge sloping down is, we have flames almost on the other side of the building, which indicates that this was something fairly big, or something that had an awful lot of momentum
to go through it,
to go, you know, deeply into the building. But again,
this one woman who was speaking to WNBC, again, our NBC affiliate in New York, was saying that it did not appear to be a big jetliner. She did see the plane, she says. She called it a small jet plane. Obviously not an expert. When prodded by the anchor, she continued to say it did not appear to be a twin-engine plane, something larger than that. Again, whether it was something as large as a 737, we still obviously don't know.
Very difficult to tell. I'll tell you what, our sister station, WNBC, of course, has a great deal of experience covering news events in New York. We're going to go to their coverage for a while.
And, you know, to fight it from it. If you're taking a look now, you can see that we've just had another explosion, and that is considerably lower. And is that in the other building? Is that what I'm witnessing?
That apparently does look like it is in the other building at this point.
And that looks to be lower, which means there, you know, obviously there are considerable numbers of stories above that explosion that we just saw. Perhaps we can get another look from one of our sky cams that can take a different angle. Yes, you can tell that it now appears that both buildings are suffering some kind of damage this morning. My colleague Glenn Walker has just joined me here in the studio. And Glenn, I don't know if you've received any other information, but perhaps you can again go over what we do know at this point, which is pretty much visual and what eyewitnesses have told us.
Well, I would hate to speculate, but that looks like a completely separate incident right there. I mean, this building has been the subject of terrorist attacks in the past, and I certainly would want to speculate at this time, but that is a separate explosion.
Yes, it is.
In the other building. Now, we have tried to get a hold of the Port Authority, which manages the building. We haven't been able to get an answer. We did call MTA, and the MTA says the subway service as of right now is continuing, so that's not a problem because it's obviously very below, but I imagine that will change very quickly after what we just witnessed. That was a dramatic explosion. Again, it was in the separate tower than the one to where the plane just crashed into about a half hour ago.
Yes, and again, there was no sign of any airplane close.
We're interrupting Channel 4. Maria Bartiromo was in the area. You all saw, if you were watching, the second explosion. Maria was in the area and says, in fact, a second airplane hit the other tower, which would indicate